Love is so hard to talk about, isn't it? Because there's so many definitions of love. Part of our human nature is that when we love somebody or something, we think about what that object or that person can do for me, for us. I love this person. I love the Brewers. I love pizza. And then Jesus comes and talks about love, and he comes from a whole different notion. And you know that as well as I. The notion of sacrifice. And second reading talks about if you love, you're willing to suffer for your love. I hope all of you have at least had one experience of falling in love. Think back to those days. The feeling, the euphoria, the object of your love can do nothing wrong. And then maybe you married that person you loved. And then after a while, it seems to fade, doesn't it? It kind of goes away. And you wonder what happened. That beautiful little couplet, those loving glances over wine that always seem so sweet, are not quite as pleasing over shredded wheat. And sometimes when that love goes away, people think it's over, they get divorced and so on. But those of you who've hung in there know that after a while, it comes back even deeper, but not the same way. That's the challenge we have today when we talk about loving, is to understand that it's not just an emotion. It's not just some euphoria feeling that lifts us up and we walk on clouds for a few days, but it's something much deeper. And those of you that have experienced love, I hope that you remember it, because if we have never experienced love, we will never understand God's love for us. That's the challenge. And that's what we're about today. Because in our society, there probably is no greater example of love than a mother's love for a child. And again, as I said earlier, it's never perfect. And for some of us, it's been better. For some of us, it has not been so good. But the mother's love is what really centers us in a love for God. As I said, if you've never experienced love, it's hard to experience that God loves you. If you've never experienced a mother's love, it's hard to understand how God loves us. Well, once we receive that, the goal is to share it. And that's what parents try to do. They try to share that love with their children, to pass it on, their values and their ideas about what's important in life. And so often, it doesn't seem to follow. And that's because our children do not listen to what we say. They watch what we do. Think about your parents. You follow their example, and the older you get, the more you realize how you're like your mother and your father. It's that passing on. But first we have to receive it, accept it, realize it, and then we pass it on. That's why on Mother's Day, I always go back to this little book, Love You Forever by Robert Munch. Author lives in Canada. Because I think it better exemplifies what I'm trying to say than I have words to do. And please sing along. You know the refrain, I'm sure. A mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, the baby grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 2 years old. He ran all around the house. He pulled all the books off the shelves. He pulled all the food out of the refrigerator. He took his mother's watch and flushed it down the toilet. Sometimes his mother would say, this kid is driving me crazy. But at nighttime, when the 2-year-old was quiet, She opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked him up, and she rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, the little boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 9 years old. He never wanted to come in for dinner, never wanted to take a bath. When Grandma visited, he always said bad words. Sometimes his mother wanted to sell him to a zoo. But at nighttime, when he was asleep, the mother quietly opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if that big boy was sleeping, she picked him up and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, the boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was a teenager. He had strange friends. He wore strange clothes. He listened to strange music. Sometimes the mother felt like she was in a zoo. But at nighttime, when that teenager was asleep, the mother opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked up that great big boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, the teenager grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was a grown-up man. He left home. He bought a house across town. But sometimes on dark nights, that mother got in her car and drove across town. And if all the lights in her son's house were out, she opened his bedroom window, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if that great big man was really asleep, she picked him up and she rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be." Well, that mother got older. She got older and older and older. One day she called up her son and said, "Would you come and please visit me? I'm getting very old and sick." So the son came to see her. He came in the door. She tried to sing the song. She sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for all." But she couldn't finish. She was too old and sick. So the son went to his mother and he picked her up and he rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while he rocked her, he sang her song, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be." Well, that night the son came home. He stood a long time thinking at the foot of the stairs. Then he went up the stairs into the room where his newborn baby daughter was asleep. And for the first time, he picked her up. and very slowly rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while he rocked her, he sang this song. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby.